Hey there everyone, Indro here and wish you a very Merry Christmas. And since it's Christmas time, we definitely need to create something in that theme. So I created this composition and thought about sharing that breakdown with you. This one took about 2.5 hours to finish, and this is something different than what I do naturally, so it was kind of also a change in taste for me, and I hope you like it. So let's get started. So starting with the hut as the very first thing, and by the way, you have got exactly 5 minutes to guess whose hut this is. So after separating it out with the pen tool, I placed my pine forest as a background and used latest Photoshop's sky selection tool to quickly select out the sky, and then I went into the selected mask to refine the edges. Then I created multiple copies of it and tried to create my basic scene. Here you will be seeing that I'll be placing some pine trees on the left hand side, but almost at the end of the video you will find that I'll be removing them completely because I accidentally discovered that without the pine trees on the left, the composition has a little more breathing room. You will see it almost at the end of the video. So next I placed the image of the sky with some beautiful northern lights. I took another image of the northern lights, changed the blending mode to lighten, and also played with the blend if section to get rid of the dark areas. I used some masking to blend those images together. I also extracted the mountains from the first image and adjusted them according to what looked good to me. Then I took this image of the cottage covered in beautiful snow and I used the roof from here and placed it on my little hut. So this is a snow covered scene and the hut was not having some snow on the roof, so definitely we needed to improvise on that. After skewing and distorting with the transform tool, I separated out the right and left part, and again with further transformation I placed them, and then I cut out some part and extended them and used more areas from the previous image and used the clone stamp tool to manually blend all the snow on the roof. After that is done, I again used the clone stamp tool to create some rough edges on the line between the snow and the wooden roof. Then I took the other side of the roof, transformed it and placed it and matched it. Then I took the chimney from the same image of the snow covered cottage and again used the transform tools to place it correctly on my little hut, and I also used the clone stamp tool to blend the chimney on top of the snow covered roof. After that, I extracted the fence from the cottage image, placed it behind our little red hut. Then I took the snow from the foot of the cottage and placed it in front of our hut because our little hut has some grass in front of it, and this does not look natural because it's a snow covered scene, so we definitely need to blend the very foot of the cottage with the snow. After that is done, I quickly created a hue saturation layer, went into the green and the yellow channels and took down the saturation to get rid of the green color of the grass. Then I was using this image to place some grass on the foreground, but I won't be liking it that much and I will be removing at a later point in the video. Now here I used some bare trees, and something I would like to say is that I always try to use free stock images in my compositions so that you can also get them and use them in your own artworks if you want. But here I was actually running short of time, so I got this from Envato Elements. I also got this sleigh with the reindeers because initially I thought about completely creating the reindeer with the sleigh from scratch, but it it was kind of taking very long, so I took this image. Then I thought about replacing the foreground because the snow was pretty boring in my eyes and I wanted to have some texture in it, so I extracted the snow from that image and placed it in our composition. Now for this sleigh, it happened to me that the 8 reindeers was making the sleigh cover part of the hut, so I removed a pair of reindeer and squeezed it a bit so that the sleigh is also visible and we also get a better view of the hut. Then I put some bare trees on the foreground as well. Then I took one from the dry media brushes and tried to blend the snow just at the very bottom of our hut and blend it with the snow on the ground. I also used the same brush to paint some snow on the hooves of the reindeer and also add some snow on the bottom portion of the sleigh. After that, I put the Christmas star and got rid of the dark background. I also changed the blending mode to screen, which I'll be later changing to linear dodge. I also played with the blend if section to get rid of the black. I also used the smudge tool to extend the star's glow. After that is done, it's time to color grade everything dark. I used the photo filter in the shade of blue. I unchecked the preserve luminosity of that photo filter and cranked up the density, and it will add a nice nighttime look on our objects. I also mixed in some vibrance layer to get rid of some saturation because at nighttime everything looks kind of unsaturated. I also mixed in some exposures if I wanted to darken up some objects and match them with the overall composition. I also used a selective color layer to get rid of the greens from the grass on our little hut. Then I marked out the windows because I'll be placing someone inside the hut and I'll be painting the glow. So I wanted to mark them out so that I can control those areas correctly. After placing the person of interest in our hut, I added the glow colors. I took a solid color fill and got it to shades of dark yellow. I changed the blending mode to linear dodge, created an inverted layer mask, and then painted on the layer mask with white to get the bright warm colors. I also played with the blend if section in the underlying layer slider and dragged the black slider by holding Alt option on the keyboard to split it and get some black areas from the underlying layers, and that will reveal some of the details and make our glow and highlights a lot more realistic. I also created a hole on the door because I'll be using it to show some light rays coming from the hut, falling on the ground and create a nice yellow ambient light in our scene. Then I took another solid color fill in the same shade of dark yellow with the linear blend mode, played with the blend if section, and in the inverted layer mask I painted with white to get our nice light glows and light rays coming from the hut. I also added some yellow glow on the bare trees that are behind the hut because that will also make the trees stand out and it will also create a warm aura all over the hut. So what I try to do here is that our main composition is in the shade of blue and the complementary yellow color from the hut will create a sense of warmth and will add some drama into our composition. Then I created a same solid color fill layer in the blend mode of linear dodge with some tweaking in the blend if section. I manually painted the highlights that will be falling on the reindeer. If you want to see in details how I paint the highlights, I have a dedicated video for it. You can find the link in the description sections and I think you will find it helpful. After painting the highlights on the reindeer, I created a quick exposure layer with some darkened up tones to get some shadows on the reindeer. And I also used a quick hue saturation layer to tone down some of the saturation from the reindeer. Then it's time to create the shadows of the reindeer that will be falling on the ground. I quickly duplicated the whole reindeer with this Sleigh image. I created a color overlay with some dark gray color. I flipped it vertically and then changed the blending mode to multiply, and then used skew in the transform tools to skew it a bit, and also used the puppet warp tool to align the shadow correctly with the deer. After that is done, I went into the blur gallery, fill blur, and then I added some blurs so that it looks like the shadow is fading out at a distance. And all that didn't match up, I quickly created a layer mask and painted manually with an added exposure layer and matched the shadows with the feet of the reindeer. So here you can see I accidentally turned off the pine forests on the left, and it felt to me that it looked a whole lot better because it gives the composition a breathing room. After that is done, I quickly created a snapshot of everything and added some noise reduction, and then went into the camera raw filter to add a whole lot of color grading. I tried to add a nice violet and purple color casts on everything so that it really pops up with the bright yellow color that is coming out from the heart. Then I added some additional brightness and contrast, and also a little bit of vibrance boost. And with that, here we have our artwork ready. I hope you like this artwork. If so, please don't forget to subscribe my channel so that it can help me create more videos like this. I wish you have a wonderful new year ahead, and I'll see you in my next video. Till then, enjoy creating.